In both videos I have made for the Smash C portable console, one topic stood among all others in the comment section. I'm going with the GPD Win. The Smash C reality Windows is the final and yes, dear viewers, if you have very enthusiastically corrected me, there is another portable PC handheld that not only materialized but it's on sale right now. You can buy one now. The GPD Win is an Intel Atom-powered handheld PC from Hong Kong-based company Gamepad Digital, who has made a name for themselves making Android-based handhelds, some of which I had a chance to try on Gamescom, and the GPD Win is their first Windows-running hardware. And here it is, in the flesh, or I guess the plastic. Before heading that way though, I know from the video I did playing with the Smash C prototype that you guys have a lot of questions that have to do with hardware, so I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about that. Also, while comparisons are not the central point of this video, I know that some comparisons with the Smash C are inevitable. However, keep in mind the GPD Win is an actual product that is already out there in the market, while the Smash C is something that is still in active development. Any comparison that I make is based on my personal experience with the Smash C prototypes that I have played with, but that's still not finalized. Alright, enough disclaimers, let's get right to it. The GPD Win is tiny. I did not expect a PC to be this small. Here I have placed it next to the 3DS XL and a PS Vita for comparison, and although it is a bit thick to accommodate for the cooling system, it does not take that much space compared to those handheld devices. This is, however, a fully fledged PC running Windows 10. As you can see, it has a full keyboard which works very well for simple thumb typing, but I will not suggest trying to type like a normal keyboard. So, it seems the Smash C is going to be geared 100% to a gaming market, as in comparison, it focuses heavily on its Steam controller-like interface. But, talking about game controls, the GPD Win has this gamepad configuration that isn't too bad either. While it looks a little bit weird, I got comfortable with it very quickly. The tiny thumbsticks were a bit of a challenge for my giant hands, but I made it work. One curious decision is that the thumbsticks do not click, probably because they run into difficulties cramming a clickable stick in such a small clamshell design, so they decided to bind those functions to these buttons down here together with the start and select buttons. I suspect this will bother some people on games where the click is used to run or something. But this is PC gaming, the land of customization. I played a bit with the action binds and found something that works better with this layout most times. There is a switch on top of the controller that allows to connect the controller either as an X-input Xbox controller, a mouse, or a direct input controller. I'm really glad they made the switch a physical thing. While the 720 touchscreen is good for some action, I found myself using the mouse function most of the time. Also, the screen is really good and I highly suggest you apply the included screen protector. Port-wise, it has a USB Type-C for charging and data, a mini HDMI so you can connect to a monitor and charge at the same time, an SD card in case you want more than 64GB of storage, a headphone jack and a USB port which you can use to connect a mouse and keyboard, which means you could literally carry this PC in your pocket, connect it to a monitor and keyboard and do work there. But Alex, you may be screaming at your screen right now, what are the specs? What is inside this thing? What powers it? The GPD Win is powered by an Intel Atom X7 C8700, a power-efficient quad-core SoC which usually powers mini computers and tablets, along with 4GB of RAM, which places it fairly in the low-end spectrum of computers. Perfect! This is definitely weaker than the Merlin Falcon AMD chip on the Smash C, which I tested with some games on a previous video, and I suspect the priority here was maximum portability at low energy use. I'm talking about energy use, inside is a 6700 mAh battery, which might sound monstrous if you compare it with a phone, but remember, this is a fully fledged computer, with all the associated power consumption that comes with it, which means you can expect a good 4 to 6 hours with more light gaming and internet browsing, and about 2 or 3 hours of more heavier gaming. Keep in mind that since this uses a Type-C USB charger, you can make it work from one of those mobile batteries everyone seems to have now. Furthermore, another curious decision is that the speed of the fan inside is manually controlled using this switch. Lower speeds means less battery consumption, but the CPU will quickly slow down if it gets too hot, so you will lose performance, and it will probably hurt your hands. Higher speeds will keep the chip in better shape while sacrificing battery life. And believe me, for the next section, I'm going to want that fan at maximum. It's time to get some games running. First, I'm going to start with Rocket League. half because it makes for a good benchmark on low-end PCs and half because I just want to play it on a handheld. On 720 and everything to the lowest, the game did pretty well most of the time, occasionally experiencing drops to the mid-20 FPS. By going into the configuration file and applying the same configuration tweaks I did on the Smash C, you know, the ones from the old video I did, I saw a definite improvement. Playing in 720p and limiting FPS to 30, I managed to play a couple of matches on perfect console frame rate. I mean, people always joke on my video, this is how the game will look on a handheld, but this is actually Rocket League on a handheld. Seriously, my toilet visits are going to get so long. Next we have Skyrim, another favorite request for this type of games. With the entire setting set to lowest and resolution to 720, I did not manage to get 20 FPS in any open area of the game. For this, I decided to give Hidalgo a try, the same software I use on my Skyrim mods videos, but specifically Hidalgo Switch, which I feature in my latest CSGO video. This program allowed me to bind a key that will reduce the internal resolution of the game to 50% when I need it. With this, the game ended up in a minimum of 25 FPS, but more commonly around 30 FPS for open areas and more in caves or enclosed spaces. It is worth mentioning that I could not tell the resolution difference in the small screen and I had to rely on the recording to notice the change. I also decided to give the first Dishonored a try. The result on lowest settings and 720p was never over 60 FPS. Who would have thought that would be so troublesome? So I decided to apply the ini tweaks from the Dishonored video I did not so long ago for the lowest graphics possible. This led to something closer to 25 FPS even in some of the heaviest action scenes. But Alex, you may say, we want a newer game. Not to worry. Here is Metal Gear Solid 5. While the Fox engine seems to already run spectacularly well on a variety of devices, I could barely get over 15 FPS on this device. And that is on the minimum resolution I could get it to and everything to the lowest. So I decided to dig into the scripts inside the game using the tools and methods I explained in the latest Metal Gear Solid 5 video and disabled shadows when going for the lowest. Fantastically, the game climbed to around 22 to 25, which some people may argue is actually comfortable playable, especially if you use more of a stealthy approach. And finally, I have been noticing that something that people are using more and more to compare devices is the GTA 5 benchmark, so I decided to give the game a short try. I ran the game on 800 by 600 and all the settings to the lowest, which allowed for something around 12 to 15 FPS on the benchmark scenes. Going into the configuration file, I reduced the resolution to 600 by 400 and disabled all the shadows. With this, the same scenes climbed to around 15 and 18 respectively. While this is an increase, it is not what I will consider playable, but I will continue testing mods to see if anything more can be achieved. And that's about it. So far this device has been much more interesting than I expected and a very interesting platform to tweak future games on. Did you want me to make more videos with this device as a target? Let me know. Only thing I really dislike about the device is the lack of resolution options, which can be fixed. In fact, if you want to know how, leave me a comment because that could be an interesting topic for a video. And I also had some minor technical issues, but that I managed to solve, it just took some time. However, it's a powerful proof of concept of what can be achieved with ultra-portable PC gaming. Huge thanks to the GPD Win subreddit. There's a frequently asked question post that will be linked in the description, which you should definitely bookmark if you plan to own one of these devices. It saved my ass several times while trying to troubleshoot some of my technical issues. Okay, also huge thanks to GPD for sending me one of these devices for review and purposes after seeing what I do in my little corner of YouTube and actually liking it. That's really cool, thank you very much. Huge thanks to Dinox from Dinox Reviews for actually showing one of my videos to GPD and thus allowing this to happen. And thank you to all the people on Patreon for supporting me, always. And I think that's it. That was a lot of thank yous. Maybe I should have done this sooner or make like a Thanksgiving special as a joke. Meh.